The Leave Your Legacy podcast is supported by Wise Financial. Wise Financial is a Northwestern Mutual private client group member. For over 20 years, Wise Financial has dedicated its efforts to designing comprehensive wealth management strategies for business owners and many accomplished athletes. Through their efforts, Wise Financial has been recognized as an industry-leading firm. The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hello and welcome to the Leave Your Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Kenyon Murray, and today's episode, we have a broadcast dynamic duo. They spend their time calling games for the Stockton Kings, pre- and post-game reporting for the Sacramento Kings, and they have their own podcast entitled the Deuce and Mo Podcast. Please welcome Deuce Mason and Morgan Ragan. How are you guys doing today?
Dude, thanks so much for having us, man.
Seriously, this is awesome. Appreciate it.
No, you know, the one thing is, I think my first encounter with you guys was, maybe it was after Keegan got drafted. And as I'm scrolling through all the Sacramento Kings stuff, I see your podcast about this guy and, you know, is he the right fit? And, you know, we're not sure. And, you know, Jaden Ivey and da-da-da-da. But I don't even know if you guys talked about Jaden. But you guys do a great job. So I am beyond privileged to have you guys on my podcast today. So thanks for coming.
One, thank you so much. Two, it always throws me off when I find out who listens to our podcast, whether it's like players, parents, coaches, execs. You're like, oh man.
Yeah.
We talk about these guys all the time. And sometimes, you know, we're fair, right?
Yeah,
we can be critical, but we're fair. Absolutely. But it's just weird knowing. Usually you just think it's a bunch of fans listening.
Oh, and one time, I mean, even Lorraine Fox called into a show and we were like, do you feel like we're pretty fair when talking about your son? You know, and she's like, yeah, you gotta say what you gotta say. And so it's really, like we said, we humanize all these guys in this league, and we just want to analyze the game and what we see.
Yeah, no, and it's hard for parents to kind of make that separation. I think I've done a pretty good job of that, but you know, sometimes I have to get after people, especially on Twitter, because let's just be real. Not everybody should be tweeting about basketball on Twitter, but
get them,
you know,
get them.
Got a lot of casuals out there.
A lot of casuals. But the one thing about you two is like your love for basketball. I mean, sports in general, it just comes through your podcast. It comes through everything you guys do. So where did that love of basketball, of sports come from for both of you?
I know for me, it was probably back in the 90s when we had the Kings playing and my parents would have it on TV, and it just became part of our lifestyle. And so then once I started really seeing Chris Webber, for me, it was, oh, I want to pick up a basketball. Yeah. And then I became obsessed and started sleeping with the basketball by my side and dribbling the basketball in my house. And so really it wasn't even sports necessarily. It was basketball became part of my blood at such a young age. And then having the Sacramento Kings to watch and to be like, those are my heroes. Yeah. I would say that's where my first love really started.
Gotcha.
It's interesting for me. It's a little more complex, but you know, growing up, my dad was pretty much in and out of prison my entire life. He'd come in, go back, come in, go back. His last stint being 13 years at the beginning of my freshman year of high school. Mm-hmm. But as a kid, like I didn't have like a male role model. I feel like I looked up to athletes. I looked up to wrestlers. I looked up to, you know, I grew up a Cowboys fan, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, love those guys. And then I'll never forget my first experience, like my first actual memory watching basketball was seeing Shaq play with the Orlando Magic and seeing him dunk the ball. And for whatever reason, it stuck with me that this giant 7-foot man who was such an athlete at the time was dunking the ball. And then I'd read about him. He had these giant shoes and you're like, this guy is out of this world. And he's on, you know, he's on every commercial. He's doing movies. Yeah. I just connected so much with that. In sports, for me, basketball became almost like a distraction. You know, there's all this chaos around me, but I knew that there would always be maybe a game on, or I could listen to something on the radio. I just became obsessed, and that obsession grew even more when the Kings became awesome in that 98-99 season.
Gotcha. Well, you're not going to get away from this, Morgan. Now, you were a baller. And I even looked up stats. So I think I think junior and senior year, you're like 14.3, 14.9. You average about 4 or 5 rebounds, a couple of assists. Definitely you play some defense because you average about 2.5 steals. So I'm like,
say that the teams that I played on were not very good in high school. Okay.
Whoa.
No. It was we had a terrible women's program. Terrible.
Teammate of the year.
Right.
I promise you we did. And that's why my assist numbers would have been way higher.
No, but I know. So, but yeah, basketball was your thing. And you played in college too?
I did. I played some JUCO ball. I had some offers when I was 17 because I played travel AAU ball. And I played with some elite talent when I was playing AAU ball, like where it was very humbling because then I was coming off the bench, right? It was those moments, where I'm playing with women that can dunk. Vicky Baugh from Sac High, and she was, all the scouts were just looking at her, and I'm just like, here I am. But I did get some looks, and then I just kind of decided that it was too much, and I didn't take any of the offers. My parents were like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But then I played some JUCO ball, and Sierra College, we ended up becoming runners up in the state of California my first year. So we just had a really good team. And then I played some pro-am ball in San Francisco because I thought I wanted to go overseas, but injuries and all.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, no, I just didn't want that to go like untalked about because, I like to do my research a little bit there. So, but no, so you guys meet, did you meet at Sac State, right? Or no?
No, we did not meet there, believe it or not. We actually met almost a little over 10 years ago at a King's Media Day, which is crazy to think about. This King's Media Day. She was an intern over at a local news station, which used to be News 10, now ABC 10.
Okay.
And I was working at a sports radio station in town, Sports 1140. And we just met there for the first time. It was very
it was so random. It was quick. It was just like, who's this guy? Oh, okay. And you're the same age. So then you meet really quick. And then we didn't really connect again until we were at a game in those media boxes. And he started asking me like, did you ever think about radio? Like, you should try and get into sports radio. You have a voice or something. And I was like, no, I just want to do TV.
Yeah.
So I explored that and became an intern at both the news station and the radio station at the same time, making $0, living at my parents' house. But it was cool because then we connected and he became more of my mentor and would be like, go write me a paper on Moses Malone and come back. Yeah. He always wanted me to know more about the history of the NBA if I really wanted to talk about it. So it was really empowering.
You got to know the history of the game. You can't just be, I only know like the last 5 years.
Right. No, I love that. I love that. And you do that's the one thing I do see, with you, Deuce, is like, you do talk about a lot of the history and you kind of pull that into what do you do? So, I mean, do you sit at home reading encyclopedias? You got like a NBA history book at home that you like flip open and, like you said, give Mo some here, here's your assignment for today.
Yeah.
Well, when Morgan was playing basketball as a kid, and I would play like outside basketball, I played in middle school. I actually got cut my freshman year, and then my dad went back to prison. I never tried out again. It was one of my biggest regrets. Right. But that's when I knew I'm like, I want to work in sports or something. So basically, the internet was around, and I would just read a ton about the game. And, watching anything NBA that was on, I was watching. I was obsessed with the game. And so I'm a very curious guy. I'll dig deep onto some stuff and I'll research. And
he also retains things. Like when he was like, he'll be like, oh yeah, I was 5 years old and I was watching the Cowboys do this. And I'm like, I didn't compete. My brain didn't connect like that as a 5-year-old, not only with sports, but with like anything in my life. So very, very different brain.
Yeah. Well, so you meet there, but then you guys kind of go and do some different stuff. You go to San Francisco, you go to LA. So what was that experience like for you, Deuce, going to San Francisco? What did you learn? And like, you took away from that. And then obviously you brought it, it's made you who you are today.
So we actually met after the LA and San Francisco.
After that? Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. But I had a chance to go to, I was like 22, 23 years old. And I had a chance to interview for a job for a morning show producer at a brand new sports station in San Francisco. And I was like one semester away from graduating college. And I'm like, I got to go do this. I got to get this experience. And I went down there and it was hard. It was overwhelming. They had high expectations. It's a huge market. I'm a young guy who's still kind of learning, trying to build contacts in the business. And it was overwhelming. So after a year, I was like, I can't do this. Like I was lucky enough that my professors at Sac State let me finish school remotely, which was great. So I finished my last semester and graduated, but I wasn't ready for it. And being young too, I don't think I handled things the best. I had a girlfriend at the time who lived in Sacramento. So I'd go up to Sacramento every weekend from San Francisco. I never like made San Francisco my home. And it was tough. Like I thought at times about leaving the business, and I'm like, maybe I should just be a teacher, or maybe I should do this. I don't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
So I quit, went back to Sacramento, and was like, I'm just going to figure it out. And it was honestly the best decision I ever made.
And I kind of have that same story with LA. It was before, obviously, we met and before those internships. So when I moved to LA, I didn't have practically any money. So I was working 4 jobs when I got there. I was working at Bubba Gump's on the Santa Monica Pier. I was working at BB in the Sherman Oaks Mall, Coach in the Sherman Oaks Mall. And then I was trying to get this one last job, which was in the business. And I would be this assistant for this creative management group that basically managed the jobs of the E hosts, the show E, whatever.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into television hosting because I thought that was going to be my path. I didn't see a lot of women in sports. And obviously I would just like always talk sports with people, and they'd be like, you could be like Aaron Andrews. You could be that. And I was like, I don't know if that's what I want to do. Cause I remember reporting wasn't what I want to do. I wanted to like break down stuff. I wanted to have an opinion. And so LA ate me alive. And, even having that many jobs and trying to pay for an apartment, it just wasn't enough. And I was like, maybe I'm not made for this business. And so when I went back to Sacramento, it was really eye-opening, being like, wow, it was all here all along at such an early stage of getting those internships and living back under my parents' roof with no money, and not making any money from those internships. And I went back to school, taking journalism classes so I could have those internships. So LA ate me alive. Glad I did it, but glad I came back.
Well, that leads into the next one. Like, you have to tell me about April Fools 2016.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to tell me about that story. I mean, it's interesting because April Fools, you think it's a joke, but like that was seemed like it was kind of brutal for you.
Yeah, it was interesting. So April 1st, 2016, it's a day that I will never forget.
Ever.
In fact, I think we actually have the termination paper still on the wall over here.
Motivation, baby.
You have a little chip on your shoulder. So at the time we were doing we were working at 1140 doing a show. But at one point it was me, Morgan, and a guy named Jason Ross. We had great chemistry. They decided to break it up, put us in the morning, and the guy we were working with, we didn't vibe with really. The chemistry wasn't there. A lot of behind the scenes politics, and you're just like, there was never a good feeling about it. And it never clicked. Morgan wasn't empowered. In fact, the boss at the time, who no longer works in the business, it tells you everything, was like, hey, like, you need to just ask questions. You don't need to like talk. We found
out that he didn't like women's voices on sports radio too. So that's why he basically put the ratings on me. Like, they were down because a woman was on the show.
Wow.
So it didn't exactly blindside us. Like, I felt like change was inevitable. It was like we were going to be moved to a different slot, or something was going to happen. So after the show on April Fool's Day, I go to check my email. Email's not working. And I went, okay. And Morgan goes, my email's not working. I'm like, Morgan, we're getting fired.
Yeah. Wow.
And so sure enough, we get called down. It's April 1st, 2016. And after, I'm trying to think of the emotions. It was just kind of surreal. I'm like, I've never experienced something like this before. This is weird. This is the business, I guess. Change happens. I went outside. I'm like, Morgan, we need to put it out there today. And I know people aren't going to believe us, but
he's like, let's control the message.
We need to control it. I don't.
Gotcha.
They did this on April Fool's Day. So no one believed us. No one. I'm talking about not only like fans of the show. We're talking about family, friends. Like, stop. They're hitting us up, texting us like, why are you guys playing? This is not funny. You guys shouldn't joke about that. I'm like, okay, you guys can wait till April 3rd. The next time we're supposed to be on, we're not going to be on. And so it was a weird moment, but I think because of everything we probably both been through in life, it wasn't like, hey, woe is me. What am I going to do?
We knew it wasn't us too. That's the thing. That's what kills you about something like this. It's like, wait, this this is a joke because we were the hardest working ones at the station, and it was just one of those weird, surreal moments. But yeah, kind of numbing when someone tries to have that control and take that away with you. So all it did, though, was light a big fire under our asses.
Yeah, literally, we just went, all right, we need to do a podcast. We need to get back out there. Let's launch a podcast. Should we do video streaming? Should we try it? And this is, 2016. We're just trying different things. Podcast thing is kind of the wild, wild west at this point. So we were doing more of a sports podcast at that point. Not totally knowing what we're doing, but just getting back out there. A local TV station in town, Good Day Sacramento, reached out to both of us, hired us to do some work there too. So it was like, okay, we're going to stay in Sacramento. We're going to figure this out. And it just kept evolving. And that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of with us is that I don't have like some crazy desire to go to a different market. If it was a job that made complete sense, like would I leave Sacramento? Sure. But if you were to be like, hey, Deuce, what's a perfect scenario? It's to stay in Sacramento and broadcast for the team, do podcasting, and do a lot of different things in the business. Yep. So the fact that we got let go and we did not have to go to another market is one of the things I'm most proud of.
That's awesome. And, I want to go back to what you're saying about a woman's voice. And obviously you've had a lot of things come your way this season. And one of the things, too, that's great about Sacramento is you also have Katie, who is in the business. And I'm not sure, how much you guys talk or whatever, but just seeing more women in the roles that you're in, and you're hosting the pre and post, you're on the sidelines. I mean, you're doing a lot of stuff. Like how, I wouldn't say fulfilling, but how good does that make you feel knowing what happened to you in 2016 and where you're at right now?
I think the coolest part is knowing, like, representation matters, and it matters because all the little girls and the moms and dads coming up to me and being like, oh, my little girl loves watching you. And it's so cool seeing that voice and normalizing that voice on something that's so male dominated when people are watching, and all those are the things that matter, because we always talk about it's truly about the next generation. Like what are we really doing this for in life? Like what's the big deal? It's just truly about the next generation and how they can try and make the world better by making sports broadcasting better, the sports world better. So yeah, having my voice out there now compared to what it was, but it's wild to think about the women that went before me and created this path for me. And so it's like, I have to create even a better path for the people behind, because my goodness, I can't even imagine what those women dealt with throughout the years before me.
Yeah. I mean, you have a voice and you're also fashion. I got to give it to you. Like you rock. Yeah. You and Deuce, you're not bad too. Like you clean up pretty well too yourself.
Well, I have to thank my stylist, Morgan Ragan. I have no sense. I could tell you what looks bad, but I can't put it together.
You know what I love though? I have other male media members coming up to me and they're like, wait, so what kind of collar was that on Deuce? What kind of jacket? Yeah. Where can I get that online? I'm like, everybody come to me. And I'm not even making any money off of it, but thank you. I rent my clothing so then I can have a different outfit every show.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell me about it. So you guys go back and forth between Stockton and Sacramento. Like how did that come about? And it's got to be great to see the young talent that is there. And obviously Nimi was going back and forth and Keyon was going back and forth. But what is that like, being able to call the Stockton games, to see that, and then come back and do what you do for Sacramento, for the Kings? I mean, that's got to be fun.
Oh, it's so fun. I mean,
dream come true.
My original dream in this business was to do play-by-play. I used to, and you probably heard the story from other broadcasters, I would have a little tape cassette in my bedroom, tell my mom, get out. My little brothers and sisters I shared a room with, get out. And I'd record myself calling games, or I'd record myself like doing mock talk shows. Mm-hmm. So when I heard Stockton, the Stockton Kings, they were in Reno at the time, the Reno Bighorns were relocating to Stockton. I went to the Kings. I'm like, look, this is something I want so bad. I would love the experience. It's a great opportunity for me to grow. I'd love to be considered. Didn't hear anything for months. They reached back out, interviewed, and I was lucky enough that they gave me the opportunity to go do it. And the fact that we get to do it together is so fun. It's to get the reps. It's to get the reps. And the G League truly is, we always talk about with like players developing, it's coaches, it's training staffs, it's front office, it's people in the business operation side that are learning how to run a front office on the business ops side, right? Yeah. And for us to get these reps, it's magical. And then you just take great satisfaction in seeing players that you called and you go, wow, Gabe Vincent.
It's so fun.
Who was playing in Stockton, and I saw his struggles in Stockton. I saw him go through the injuries, and I saw the work he put in.
And people not believe in him.
And now he's starting playoff games for the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
That's magical.
Yeah. There's some weird connection you feel to those names, those players. Of course, Miami Heat have a whole bunch of those names on their roster because they know how to develop guys so well. But yeah, when we first went for the color and play-by-play job, there was also going to be a sideline reporter. And I told Deuce, I was like, I've never done color before. It's what I want to do, but I don't think they're going to hire me for that. So I went for the sideline gig. Again, a woman not believing in her ability. And there weren't too many female analysts out there, a couple years ago. There's so many more now. And so I went and did that. And then they came back to me and they said, no, we want you to be the color analyst with Deuce as the play-by-play. And that's what's really cool about this organization too, is because that empowerment is there. They do believe in you, and they believed in me in that. And it's been truly like a dream come true every season. I think people go, isn't that hard driving back and forth from Stockton to Sacramento? And it's like, when you are obsessed with something, that doesn't even come into play. Sure, it'd be nice if they were around the corner, but isn't that every job? So truly being able to get our reps in this role and to do this together, the way that we bounce off of each other, it's our goal for one day in the big leagues. And, we just got to keep working, keep grinding, and hopefully we can get there.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, just from a G League perspective, just being around so much, and whether it's going to practices or before a game, getting to know these coaches and getting to know these players and trying to understand kind of what makes them tick. It's a different breed. So fun. It's so fun. And for me, I love the research. I love trying to learn about all these G League players, because some of them you don't. Like, we did the G League showcase. The NBA had us come out and do G League showcase broadcast work, and we were doing a few games a day, and I'm just in the hotel cranking out my charts, researching all these players. But it's that thrill and excitement knowing that you're going to go watch a game and call a game, something I dreamed of doing. And these players are working so hard. They're trying to get to that next level, whether it's the NBA, Europe, just improve, or just be awesome in the G League. It's fun to see that. It's fun to call those moments. And the thing I always try to remember, and I feel like I do it well at the end of the year when I have a few minutes to decompress after a season, is that we get to do this in our home market. Like, I grew up a Kings fan. Yeah. I grew up a Kings fan, and I'm doing broadcast work for the Kings. It doesn't get much better. I mean, I feel so grateful.
Yeah. I have a little connection there. So I used to work for NBA TV and the Big Ten Network. And so I did the G League showcase back in the day, called Reno Bighorn games when Musselman was the coach. Called the finals and all that kind of stuff too. So I know what you're talking about, like cramming. The showcase was crazy, cramming for like all the information and stuff like that. But yeah, I actually worked for a dental company full time. I called games for the Big Ten Network, usually just at Iowa, so I didn't have to travel. And then NBA TV called me and I started doing games. It was like a crazy 2-year span where I was doing all this stuff. So
you're a hoops junkie.
Yeah. So I know the grind when it comes to the G League.
I did the showcase for the first time this past year, and Morgan's done it the last couple of years. But after I was done, I'm not kidding you. I've never run a marathon, right? But I feel like I can relate where, there's almost that emotional thing you get after running a marathon where I've been training. I did it. I was walking through the hotel after the casino after calling the last game. I teared up. I was just like, man, I was just so happy. I was just.
He texted me because I was calling my last game and he texted me. He's like, I'm just crying. I'm so happy right now. I know you're calling a game, but my goodness, this was just a marathon. And the fulfillment of that. I'm sure you felt that. Like, it's like when you're putting all this work into doing your research and calling these games, and it's like, it's successful. It just feels great.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, I mean, what you guys are doing is awesome. And I just think it's just so cool to be able to see both sides of it for you guys. And I mean, think about it. This year, you have the executive of the year in both leagues. Yeah. You have the coach of the year. I mean, Domas leads the league in rebounding. You got Foxy, who's clutch player. Obviously, Keegan had a great year. I mean,
Keegan 200 made threes, 40%.
Keegan had a great year.
NBA rookie record.
Yeah, he had a good year. But it was funny because even in the playoffs, and I'll ask you some questions about him. But I was like, hey, this is what I noticed on defense. Like, when you close out, I see you do this, and then he goes, well, the coaches are telling me I play good defense. I'm like, you're right. I never played in the NBA, so I was like, I can't tell you about offense because I played defense, but I'm just saying. And the funny thing is that he'll never admit it, but we're watching the next game, and I said, Michelle, I said, did he do what I think he did? He goes, yeah, I think he listened to you, but he's just not going to tell you that he listened to you. So if there's anything he does, he may listen, but he'll just never tell me that I was right.
Well, I mean, you were his coach growing up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now he's trying to pull I've got NBA coaches, but you're always going to be his coach.
Yeah, I know, but it's just kind of funny because I know how to step back and I won't say anything else. So,
but then you see him make that adjustment, you're like, that was me.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you guys have been there and you've seen it. So the struggle of this playoff drought. So what do you guys feel it means to the organization and the fans to break through? And then now there's this expectation going forward, right? So what did it mean to finally get to the playoffs? And granted, it wasn't what we wanted it to end, but I thought we represented ourselves very well in the first round and learned some lessons that I think will help propel us forward.
Yeah, I think when we thought about the prospect before the season of maybe being a play-in or playoff team, you thought Kings will, if they have a chance, they'll get in. They'll maybe be like an 8 seed. Hey, maybe they can get to 6, The fact that they took this type of jump where they were the number 3 seed and won 48 games, multiple players fighting through injury, including Keegan, and playing the number 1 offense, a fun style. For them to do that this year, to end the drought in this fashion, I think made it even more special because they arrived, and I don't think anyone left going, well, they were the 8th seed, and I don't know about next year. I think most people outside Sacramento are looking at this team going, this team's going to be a problem in the West for years to come now. And to represent yourself in that way against the defending champs, it means everything. I mean, this fan base was starved.
And I think about, I try to be realistic. Sometimes Deuce is like, you're just afraid to say things and get excited. No, I think when it comes to sports, I think it's totally fair to be realistic. And to start this season, I was like, they'll be in the play-in conversation, but they won't make the playoffs this year. Like, what type of team takes that type of leap? Oh, and then they shoved it in my face with each award that they got. And then they shoved it in my face a little bit more, getting the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. And it's like, it's so magical to think about everything that happened this year, but it's how it's happened, right? Like, it was all done the right way to have sustainable success going forward in the future. And they didn't limp into the playoffs. They earned every second of it. And I mean, I know we were talking about this earlier, but I had to get this tattoo because I made a little bet on media day. I had to draw out the Slamson logo, and they said, if the Kings make the playoffs, will you get that tattooed on your body? I'm like, yeah, because they're not going to make it this season.
Right.
They made it. And honestly, what this represents for this season it's like, it's so cool. Basketball is my life. The Kings, I mean, truly are my life. And this just represents such a special time, a time that I think we'll always cherish and never forget this team or this season.
This season, yeah. And I've said this so many times. There's nothing sweeter than the come up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing sweeter than the come up when you haven't made the playoffs in 16 years. This year is going to be one I think Kings fans remember forever.
Yeah. No, and I think, as you look forward, we know we have people that are, free agents, and there's going to be some things. And I, honestly, this is just me talking out loud, is we're a couple players away from really, in the free agent pool from being, think about getting to a Western Conference Finals and getting to the finals. I think we've got a young nucleus, and sometimes it's just one or two pieces. And I know we have a piece overseas that people are hoping comes over, and, there's a free agent part of it. But that's the thing. I think they've been smart with how you said they've done it in a way that can be sustainable. And now it's like, what piece do you add to this group that can get us over the hump? And I don't think we're that far away from taking that next leap either.
I agree. And we talk so much about what can they add from the outside. It's also just internally, what can you do better?
Right.
Sabonis is going to have some things to work on. The guy's one of the hardest working guys in the league. And, after this series, he's thinking about all the things he can do better, where he's going to be working on that mid-range shot and to shoot it with confidence, right? Keegan, what's he going to look like in his second year after all these reps? The experience that Keegan got this year, I can't really think of a rookie that has really had this type of experience where not only are you on a good team your rookie year, you're starting.
You're making an impact.
Playing 30 minutes a night, and then you played 45 minutes in a playoff game where you won the game. Like, the rookies, it takes time.
Top 10 rookies.
Bad teams. Yeah, top 10 rookies. They go to these bad teams. And even if they're on a good team, they're not coming off the bench. Maybe they play a little bit. But Keegan was thrown in there, and he earned it. And you just saw him. I think the thing that excited us most about him, it's so funny talking to Keegan's dad about this. Hey, Kenyon, here's what excites me about your son. No, it's just seeing growth in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Where he was doing things in the playoffs that you didn't see a couple of weeks back or a month ago. And that's what you want to see. There's going to be ups and downs with any young player, any player in the league, but are you seeing that growth? And I think with Keegan, you're seeing it. And what he said the other day is he is more confident now after the playoffs than he was before. And that's big time stuff. Yeah.
Like I said, he was a different player, after game 3 and on. Like, it was like the first 2 games, just kind of feeling him, figuring like, how do I do this? Even Fox said it took me a half to kind of figure out how the playoffs were going to impact me and how I needed to play. It took him a couple games to figure it out, which was, they weren't his best games top to bottom, but we won and we're in a good position. And now it's like, how did he adjust the rest of the way? And that's, to me, is very impressive. But it doesn't surprise me as his dad, because they've always been students of the game. I mean, we watched film in high school. I did very detailed scouting reports. So they learned how to watch film and break down players, for a long time. And I would send it to them as a high school coach. I would send them player breakdowns and things like that. So they understood how to watch film. Yeah. One thing, I was a little overbearing at times. But it was actually Chris. But it was Chris that told me, like, Dad, like, there's got to be a separation of church and state. Like, when we're in the gym, you're coach. We leave the gym, you're dad. And it was actually Chris that made me understand, like, okay, at some point in time, I'm going to have to, step back and trust that the people that are around are going to help coach and develop them. And it was hard, but it also, I think, created a respect between us. And I guess more than anything, as a dad, I was like, okay, I did okay, because they've been able to thrive, with other coaches, and obviously Chris this year, Keegan this year. So it's a hard thing as a parent, but I think that makes me more proud to see him.
You are so hard on yourself. It's so like you have, I mean, from what I know about Keegan, a great human being. And on top of that, he made it to the NBA, a hard worker.
And Chris is about to be in the NBA.
I mean, the rest of your family, they're all gems. Like what more could you do? Come on now.
Well,
love yourself too. Come on.
No, it's one of those things where we definitely feel blessed to be here. And we understand, like, I tell people in the 75-year history of the NBA, there's been a little over 4,500 players that have actually played in the NBA. And to have one in and one on the cusp of being in, it's like, it's uncharted territory. But there's a I don't know. I feel like there's a responsibility to kind of help people along the way and understand what the process is, but also understand like it's not easy. And the one thing I told the boys is to be great is sometimes a lonely place. I think Kobe talked about it. If you're leading a team or you want to be a great player, there are things you have to cut out of your life. And sometimes it's hanging out and friends and this, that, and the other thing. And the thing about Chris and Keegan, they have had the same two best friends since they were 5 years old. And that's their group. And it's all about family. And I don't know if you saw Keegan's Adidas thing, but he said when he steps on the floor, his why is to represent our family and make us proud at the highest level. And like, to me, like that's one of those tear-jerking moments. And I do. I mean, we sit back and Michelle and I will give each other a hug and say we did okay, but it's still crazy to see our kids at this level. Like it's bananas to see them there.
It's crazy. You had twins and they're both about to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, what is life?
I mean, that is like, I know you take a step back and sometimes you're just like, all right, we did okay. But truly, when you look at the statistics, and everything else, and it's like everything that you guys did, but on top of that, and I know this as a parent, the fact that they're great people and that they love the hell out of you guys. Does it get much better than that? That is so cool.
Yeah, that means the most. I tell people all the time, like, I'd rather them be known as good people than good basketball players. And because, that kind of goes into the next part, because it's about, what, your legacy. And I used to think it was what I was as a player, or if I became a coach, like, what did I do there? But getting in, being here in the podcast is about so much more, and it's about the people you impact. And so that's why when I send it to you, I ask all my guests, like, what does leaving a legacy mean to you? And I definitely would love for you two to share individually or collectively what you believe leaving a legacy means.
I feel like I could separate this one professionally versus just like as a person. I think professionally, like I want peers, the legacy I want to live is like, hey, that guy like loved what he did. He took joy. He wasn't jaded. He brought it the energy and he had fun and he wanted to help some people out.
Yeah.
Because I think that's so important. This business is a grind. It is. It's humbling. It's really tough. And you have to get lucky. I've gotten lucky too. I've gotten really lucky over the time. But I've also had people who have helped me along the way in the business that probably don't realize that their help, even the smallest words of encouragement, got me going even a little more, right? Like just push me along the way. And I want to be that for others, right? Because I think as we continue to have success in this business, people look at you and they see what you're doing. And I think we can impact with words of encouragement. We want to help the youth. We want people. As a young person, I wanted to connect with every broadcaster. So I don't know. I just want to leave a legacy of like, hey, this guy was working hard, had fun doing it, but also help people along the way.
Yeah. Like I love healthy competition in this business even, and I call it competition because like we're all trying to get better, but I think it's so very important to collaborate, to be kind to one another and to empower one another, because those are the people that keep rising to the top. If you are making sure you are helping others, doesn't matter if it's the youngest peer of peers, in the business to someone who's been doing it for a while, and you're making sure that you are pushing out their work and encouraging them as well, because that's what you're getting back. You know, it's like, it's as simple as treat others how you would like to be treated. And when we get those compliments or encouragement from peers in this business, it's so validating. Like, it makes me emotional because those moments, I don't even think they realize how big that one text message is, or how big that one phone call is, or that opportunity is, and what it means for my life and everything that I sacrifice to put into this job. And so, it's, I would say leaving a legacy would really just making sure that we're making this space better than the way that we came into it.
Yes.
And by doing that, it's
inclusive.
It's it's making sure that we are utilizing our privilege to make space for everyone else so that this can be a more diverse, a more inclusive place as we continue to go forward.
Awesome. No, I love that. I love that. So, serious question moves on to some fun ones. So I always do like rapid fire questions at the end. So, all right. First one, if you had a place to go for a relaxing vacation, where would you go?
Big Sur, give me a massage. Like a spa day.
Okay.
Give me a massage.
It's, I feel like we're so lucky to live in Sacramento because we're so close to so many things like San Francisco, Tahoe.
Yeah.
Tahoe has always been my spot.
Really?
I love the trees. Tahoe's great because you go up there in the winter, you could feel the snow. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Right?
We did that. Yeah. Walked out we walked out on the lake and everything when we were up there.
That lake is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Crisp air.
Yeah.
You go up there in the summertime. It's gorgeous. I connect so much with Lake Tahoe.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Next one. What is your comfort food?
Ice cream. 100%. You can find me, if you ever see me like dancing in my kitchen, it's because I just took a bite of ice cream.
Yeah, that's really a tough thing for me because here's the thing. We grew up eating junk food. Like that's all we had in our house. Like, that's all. It's like my mom, we didn't drink water. We drank Kool-Aid with like 2 cups of sugar in it. Like what would we, it was just, there was no, hey, you want a soda? Have a soda.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Kool-Aid was the thing, man. Kool-Aid was the thing. What's the flavor? What's your flavor?
Well, whatever my mom would give me, but my personal favorite, cherry. Well, it's a black thing, grape.
Yeah.
I like grape too, though. I like grape too. Yeah. And I swear, I was thinking that always had the Kool-Aid mustache. He's got Kool-Aid stained above his lip.
Yeah.
So here's my problem. It's like, what? Any junk food. That's why I can't have a ton of junk food in my house because if it's there, it's a wrap. If I have chips in there, I'm eating them. Chocolate, eating them. Sour candy, eating them. Ice cream.
I've seen it. Like I was like, one time we did like a
control.
12-hour stream and I was like, let's just get like Oreos to snack on. And it's like, there's 2 left by the end of the 12-hour stream. And I'm like, what did this?
So bad.
You and me, dude, Sour Patch Kids. Oh, chocolate. I have like the little Dove chocolates all the time. So either I was at Keegan's and Carly had dark chocolate ones and I literally destroyed the bag. I had to buy a new one before I left.
But you have that stuff in your house though?
I do. Yeah. I just went and got some. I got them here too. But I say, well, I go and work out, so I kind of burn it off, but it's all good.
Good job.
All right. Last one. This is for both of you. If you're stuck on an island and you can listen to one artist, who would that be? One artist.
Okay. It's so funny because I would not say I'm a huge music person. And I was telling Deuce how like, I always will have like classical or jazz on just like in the background or even spa music. Right. I like to zen myself out. But you know what? I would have Mac Miller just playing all the time. Like his vibe, it like speaks to me on such a different level. I can listen to all of his music all the time.
It's so hard for me because I connect with music a different way where it's more emotional, right? It's like I'm trying to get amped up. I'm gonna be honest, I'm listening to wrestling music, like wrestling themes. I'm not kidding you. Like a CM Punk theme song, the entrance music,
Stop.
Brock Lesnar, Triple H. But that I'm an emotional guy too.
Get you the WWE soundtrack, you'll be all right, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna say, here's another soundtrack that I've been listening to far too much. Morgan knows this. The Moulin Rouge Broadway soundtrack.
Really?
I saw Rouge in New York City. It was the one that I've never been to a Broadway show. I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever.
Connected. He
So
was
hard.
connected to a
So
Broadway
hard.
show so hard that he listens to the soundtrack. And like, I've seen him before, like trying to sing it and like dancing a little. I'm like,
But
what is this, man?
so I'm all over the place, as you can tell. So, but I would say if I was one artist, I'm on an island, I'm trying to Leon Bridges.
Okay. I mean,
like
that's a
Leon
great,
Bridges.
that's a great chill vibe
thank
for
you.
your island vibes.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to check that out because I have not listened to that. So I definitely will.
Check out Leon Bridges.
Leon
man.
Bridges.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
Okay, awesome. Well, I want to say thank you both for coming on, and I know like you're super busy, so I'm glad we can make this happen. But one of the things I do too is I always, think about my host or my guests, and I always have a quote for every show, and this one kind of stuck out for me on the two of you, and it's a quote from American author Robert Greene. It says, "You must always be prepared to place a bet on yourself by heading in a direction that others seem to fear." And your story, I mean, how you got here, like you two had to bet on yourself so many times, and you probably didn't know what was going to come out of it. There's always a fear factor, but yeah, I just thought that one was just a good one to kind of wrap up the show for you two.
That hits.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We should all bet on ourselves. I mean, you
Absolutely.
should. You know what I mean? It's like, I think in life, life is so short too, and no matter we're talking about professional, whatever, but professionally, like you got to do what you love, and it's scary sometimes. It's scary to take chances, but just do it. And we're still trying to figure it out. Like we feel like we're going in the right direction, but who knows where it's headed?
Be willing to fail,
Absolutely.
but don't accept failure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. And to our fans, hey, remember, you can always find our podcast on our YouTube channel, The Talk About Network. Remember to subscribe, give us a like, hit the notification button so you know when the next episode drops. We're on the iHeartRadio platform, Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And with that, I'm Kenyon Murray, your host. Until next time. This podcast is sponsored by Storyline Multimedia. Storyline is an Iowa City-based media company that specializes in creating high-quality video, photo, and audio productions for local businesses. Not only that, but they also produce a number of podcasts, including this one. So if you're interested in sharing the story of your business with the world, contact them today by visiting StorylineMultimedia.com. And remember, your story matters.